Chapter 30. But now they that are younger than I have set me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock. Yea, whereto might the strength of their hands profit me, in whom old age has perished? For want and famine they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness in former time, desolate and waste, who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat. They were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief, to dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, in caves of the earth, and in the rocks. Among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles they were gathered together. They were children of fools, yea, children of base men. They were viler than the earth. And now am I their song, yea, I am their byword. They abhor me, they flee far from me, and spare not to spit in my face. Because he hath loosed my cord, and afflicted me, and they have also let loose the bridle before me. Upon my right hand rise the youth. They push away my feet, and they raise up against me the ways of their destruction. They mar my path, they set forward my calamity. They have no helper. They came upon me as a wide breaking in of waters. In the desolation they rolled themselves upon me. Terrors are turned upon me. They pursue my soul as the wind, and my welfare passeth away as a cloud. And now my soul is poured out upon me. The days of affliction have taken hold upon me. My bones are pierced in me in the night season, and my sinews take no rest. By the great force of my disease is my garment changed. It bindeth me about as the collar of my coat. He hath cast me into the mire. I am become like dust and ashes. I cry unto thee, and thou dost not hear me. I stand up, and thou regardest me not. Thou art become cruel to me. With thy strong hand thou opposest thyself against me. Thou liftest me up to the wind, and thou causest me to ride upon it, and dissolvest my substance. For I know that thou wilt bring me to death, and to the house appointed for all living. Howbeit he will not stretch out his hand to the grave, though they cry in his destruction. Did not I weep for him that was in trouble? Was not my soul grieved for the poor? When I looked for good, then evil came unto me, and when I waited for the light, there came darkness. My bowels boiled and rested not. The days of affliction prevented me. I went mourning without the sun. I stood up and I cried in the congregation. I am a brother to dragons and a companion to owls. My skin is black upon me, and my bones are burned with heat. My harp also is turned to mourning, and my organ into the voice of them that weep. Now he's talking about how people are treating him now that he has troubles. And he says in verse 1, but now they that are younger than me have me in derision. In other words, they mock him. Their fathers, the people who are mocking him, their fathers he would not have set with the dogs. That means he would not have let their fathers help look after his sheep with the dogs who were there to guard the sheep. Their families would not have been smart enough, good enough, able to do a good job. And these fellows who know nothing and are capable of nothing are mocking Job, who was the biggest, wealthiest, most honorable man in the entire area. And he's talking about how these people, basically, who cut up mallows by the bushes, who cut up weeds to eat by the bushes, and juniper roots, which are almost inedible, for their meat, so that they would have something to eat, because they had nothing. They were driven forth from among men to dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, in the caves of the earth. People who had nothing. People who either wouldn't work or couldn't work or didn't want to work, and they dwelt there. Among the bushes they brayed. Brayed would be like a mule, just making noise for something. Children of base men. children of what would be called sons of Belial, people who were lazy, people who would not work, people who were not honest. They were viler than the earth. These are the people that are mocking him now and making fun of him. It says, I am their song and their byword. In other words, they are making up songs about me. They are mocking me. I am their byword. He is the butt of their jokes. They abhor. They hate me. They flee far from me. In other words, they aren't willing to listen to anything he says. And they even are, it says spare not, means they even have the courage to spit in his face. Because he, God, hath loosed my cord and afflicted me. That's their judgment. And they also have let loose the bridle before me. That means they just are just let him fall to the ground. They aren't willing to help. They aren't willing to do anything. They aren't willing to be of any value and help to him. If you have a bridle, you can take a horse and lead it someplace. You can use it for good. If you let somebody's bridle fall, that means you just let them alone. They're on their own. Upon my right hand rise the youth. They push away my feet. In other words, they're trying to knock him down. And they raise up against me the ways of their destruction. They try to spoil everything he does. They mar my path. They set forward my calamity. They basically do everything they can to make his situation worse. They have no helper means they're not willing to be guided by anybody who could tell them that I need some help. I could use some help. They came upon me as a wide breaking in of the waters, as a flood. That's what a wide breaking in of the waters would be. You would have a dam, and it would hold back the waters. And then if it broke just a little bit, you might be able to control it. But if the whole wall gave forth, you'd have this huge rushing wall of water, and there would be nothing you could do. In the desolation, they rolled themselves upon me. These people had no mercy, no caring, no interesting. They were just prepared to run right over him and do everything they could to make his life miserable. Terrors are turned upon me. He had no idea what was going to happen. They pursue my soul as the wind, and my welfare passeth away as a cloud. They don't care anything for him. And now my soul is poured out upon me. The days of affliction have taken hold upon me. He is now sorely afflicted. He has problems and trials, and he is thoroughly in the grasp of these things. And it is made worse because of the mocking and the problems that are caused by all these people who are trying to look at him and say what a terrible person he is, how he must be dishonest, how he must be a sinner, how they're mocking him and looking at him. And now that hard times have fallen upon him, how they are willing, even though he was so wonderful amongst them, such an example, now they hate him. Now they're willing to do everything they can to bring him down. I cry unto thee, basically the Heavenly Father, and thou dost not hear me. I stand up and thou regardest me not. In other words, I stand up so you can see me, and you don't pay attention to me. Thou art become cruel to me. With thy strong hand thou opposest thyself against me, my Lord. Thou liftest me up to the wind. In other words, he exposes him to like the sandstorm. You're exposing somebody to the wind. That basically in that area you wanted to stay out of the wind because the wind carried the sand. It was biting. It would take off your flesh if there was enough sand in it and the wind was strong enough. Thou causest me to ride upon the wind. In other words, you would float. Now, he didn't mean he would ride on the wind, but he would float through the air with nothing to hold on to. Thou dissolvest my substance. I have nothing. For I know that thou wilt bring me to death into the house appointed for all living. He knows he will die. Howbeit, he will not stretch out his hand to the grave, though they cry in his destruction. Though the people cry for Job's destruction, he knows that he will not die as a result of anything that God does to him. He still has faith and testimony. Then he says, Did I not weep for him who was in trouble? Was not my soul grieved for the poor? When I looked for good, then evil came upon me. When I waited for light, there came darkness. I am a brother to dragons. Dragons were any kind of animal that was an outcast.